viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
We unleash the Wolf Pack as we get the latest in the NFL and the Miami Dolphins with our KSDT CPA Pro Football Report with NFL Network insider Cameron Wolfe. KSDT is one of South Florida's largest and one of the country's fastest growing accounting firms. KSDT CPA is a full-service firm that also excels in crypto. Visit them at ksdtcpa.com or call 305-670-3370. Here's NFL insider Cameron Wolfe.
There he is, locked and loaded and ready to go right behind his bookcase. There we go. Yes, sir. Or in front of his bookcase, that is. How you feeling, babe? Feeling good?
I'm good. I'm back in the AC of my house. We were outside, and I'm reminded every day of what life is like in Miami.
Although you had a cooler day today.
Yes, we were inside for practice, which was great. It was great.
But even outside, it's like in the 80s.
Yes, we got a break. We got a break for sure. Really, the last week we've got a break. It hasn't been bad this week.
I got a real break. Because earlier in the week I was in Canada, so it was a lot cooler over there, actually. But it was rainy as hell. Anyway, all right, let's get into it. You feeling good? I guess Cam Smith feeling good too, right? Back at practice, non-contact jersey, so I didn't have that on. So he was bumping a little bit, getting in a groove. We got another 19 days till the regular season, so this is actually plenty of time for him to be ready for week one.
Absolutely. In fact, like I got a chance to talk with Cam Smith after practice, and question was pretty obvious. You think you're going to be ready for week one? And without hesitation, he said yes. He said that, he's got a shoulder injury. I asked him, does he think it'll linger? He said, look, I don't know about that at this point, but I don't think it'll affect me in season. He said that he hopes he plays some snaps this weekend against the Jaguars. That's what his hope is. And so he's getting closer. I think that, it's made clear. Vic Fangio talked to us this earlier today that that cornerback battle is still open. The starting spot that Jalen Ramsey left open, it's really a three-man race between Cam Smith, Eli Apple, and Noah. And so right now, Cam, Vic said, has to prove to him that you can trust him. He's a rookie. You got to trust him to do the right plays. But like you said, if he's got time, if he's got a game, he's got a week or two, maybe he can do enough to show that you can trust him to earn that spot.
What do you believe in, by the way?
I think that you'll probably see Eli or Noah, but most likely Eli, start week one, and then they ease Cam in. And maybe it's like by week 3, maybe by week 4, you'll see Cam take over. I think he'll eventually take over pretty early in the season, but I think you'll see them probably start one of the veterans that they feel more comfortable with week 1. That's just my thought based on what I've seen and what I've heard. But there's no doubt that Cam is the most talented of the three. And I think eventually the talent will rise to the crop as he gets healthier, gets a little bit more experience.
I think they're going with Cam.
You think from week 1? Interesting.
If he's healthy,
Cam.
That's why they drafted him. I think he was already kind of working his way to that right before the injury. He was actually, I thought, the better guy out of all of them. To me, the once the pads went on, some of the Eli Apple stuff went up and down a little bit, where I thought Cam was actually holding up pretty well overall. Noah has no shot at this. It's really nice from the coach to throw the name in there, and you know what? I'll give Noah this. He's had his best camp he's ever had.
Yep.
Okay, but not good enough. Unfortunately, it's still not good enough.
I'd imagine it's Eli or Cam. Another thing people haven't talked about a lot, because everybody's assuming that Cater's inside, right? Cater can play outside corner too. Yes. So obviously, base formation, you're going to be playing with 3 corners. But when it's 2 corners on the field, I think that you could probably still play Xavier and Cater outside. And then when you go to 3 corners, then maybe you move Cam inside and bring in one of the other players.
See, that's where I disagree with you. When you go to 3, I think Cater is the better player inside. And that's why they're putting Cater there, actually.
Right.
I think
and so playing slot corner is a different skill. So you know, outside corner is one thing. I just don't think you're comfortable. Definitely not with a Noah. And Cam at this stage of his career is you're not gonna be comfortable with him inside either. And Eli has not played a ton of inside either. So you got three guys who are essentially boundary corners, whereas Cater can do both. And inside is a very important role. So I think you're right there. I think that's also why they just signed who is the slot corner that they were just signing that had been here with Vic, that had been with Vic in the past. It was just a couple days ago. I can't remember his name, but I think that's part of the reason you sign him. So if you say you have a backup option, even if he doesn't make the roster initially, a backup slot option if for something happens to Cater. If Cater gets hurt, three guys who are boundary corners as your backup, who are you going to play in the slot, right? Nick did that job, but I think there's a thought he's not going to be ready week one, and so who's your secondary option? You know,
Trill's playing safety, so they got him at safety, but they could move him to the outside. Also, Keon Crossan just got back also, because in a perfect world, once you're healthy, I think their vision is you have Ramsey and X, right? And then their backups are Cam and Crossan or shit. I'm trying to think.
This is all assuming Cater's the third inside, right?
Cater's inside and Needham's his backup.
Yeah, ideally, right? That's when everybody's healthy. When everybody's healthy, right?
If you think about it, once they get healthy, shit, dude, they're in like really good.
Deep. They're very deep, but that also assumes that they stay healthy throughout the year. You don't lose anybody else, right? But yes, you're right. The initial group that we thought it was going to be extremely deep. Jalen, X, Cater, your first team, and then Cam Smith, Needham, and then maybe Keon Crossan as your sixth corner for special teams. That's a pretty deep group, you know. But obviously injuries happen.
Bethel's the outside guy of maybe the seventh.
Right. But I will tell you, just kind of a quick nugget I saw at practice. Bethel's got like a brace on his knee, and he didn't look like he was moving great. I don't know if we've heard a lot about that, but it makes me wonder, is he going to be ready for week one, or is he a guy that you might have to miss some time with? That might be something we follow up with Mike McDaniel on.
You notice the Cross and Bethel combination is the final is also a special team.
Yes, because special teams, just be real, they've struggled. You're going to have to keep a couple guys just strictly for special teams, which is why, like I mentioned it. I mentioned it.
We just did. Noah doesn't excel in either one.
Right.
So
a lot of times when you're talking about that sixth corner, your fourth running back, your third or fourth tight end, your fifth linebacker, these are spots that you're going to have to play good special teams, be core special teams guy, which is why, like I tweeted about this. Ahmed had a great preseason game, right? He was explosive. He looked fast. You know, he looked like a dude trying to secure his roster spot, and he might have done enough. But the question I continue to ask is, whether it's Gaskin, whether it's Ahmed, you're talking about your fourth running back most likely. Neither of those guys do a ton of special teams. Are we sure that either of them are going to be on the roster? Or does Miami go in the market for a fourth running back who is more of a special teams player?
Well, Brooks, what's he doing on special teams?
Maybe I don't know. I to be honest, I don't have enough knowledge of Brooks' special teams reps. I'll watch that closer, but I don't know if he's considered a core guy. You got to earn your way into being a core guy. And I know Ahmed and Gaskin, neither of those guys have done enough. Maybe Brooks has, or maybe they find somebody on the waiver wire who is a special teams first player as a running back as well. I think that's the option too.
My problem with that is we saw what happened with the Arizona kid. You brought him in, you even brought him in as a free agent, and then the young man, unfortunately, just could not figure out the system the right way, couldn't hit the holes the right way, and then you had to cast him aside. Salvon Ahmed has always responded. Last year and so far now, he knows the system from his days in San Fran. He reads it really well. And I get it. A-Chain, Ahmed, and Gaskin, you know, you can't keep three guys that are kind of the same shit. And so they were already working A-Chain on special teams. So I think Ahmed is the guy that stays. Gaskin is gone. Right. So I think those are your top four. I think the question is, if you go 5, do you go Brooks or do you go free agency? Like you're talking about, do you try to hide Brooks on the practice squad now? That kind of thing. I kind of like him, actually, because I think he brings a little something
And
different.
he had a good practice today. Like I don't want to put a lot of stock in practice, but Brooks looked like he can run in the trenches a little bit. One question we may have here is, do you have a bigger back? Jeff Wilson's like the thunder of the offense, but again, he's a guy who, he hasn't been healthy a ton. Is Brooks is not a huge guy, but does he handle a little bit more short yardage if he plays special teams? Then you have a guy that can be active on game day. Too often, if you have an Ahmed or Gaskin as your fourth and only guy, he's probably going to be inactive on game day because he doesn't play a lot of special teams, and he's essentially on the roster if one of your running backs get hurt ahead of him. If Rheaume gets hurt, if A-Chain gets hurt, if Wilson gets hurt, then Ahmed becomes a part of your game plan. If not, he's probably inactive for 16, 17 weeks.
Yeah. So that's a question. Where are they going to go there with that position? How deep are they going to go? Are they going to go 4 or 5? The funny part is, even if they keep 5, collectively they're paying all 5 of them less than the Jets are paying Dalvin Cook. So it's just kind of funny in that sense. Kendall Lamb, he's been a really nice find for them since last year. It seems like he's grown under their system, and he's played really, really well. And today he kind of had, when you guys asked him about right tackle, and he said, he asked to play right tackle. Give me some right tackle time. And he hasn't been given the right tackle time. And now, to Jackson's credit, he's done a decent job overall. So maybe he is turning the corner over there. We'll see. He's had some ugly moments still, too, at the same time. But Kendall, it's interesting. Do you think they've made a mistake by not giving him more reps at right tackle, just in case Austin Jackson doesn't continue on a positive trajectory?
Yeah, I think that he was making a great point to us today about that. Like, I want to be in a situation where, depending on what happens game day, I'm not uncomfortable with anything, right? Like, obviously he's brought in here because Teron is hurt right now, and you have concern about Teron and being hurt at some point during the season. It's just the reality of it. They love Teron. I think everybody loves Teron, but he hasn't played 17 games yet in his career, or 16 when he used to be 16. And so you're thinking there may be a decent chance there's going to be a game or 2 or 3 or 4 that Lamb's got to start at left tackle, or maybe even some games where he's got to come in and replace him. I don't think you're worried as much about Austin Jackson's durability, but at the same time, he missed time last year. And so you're right. I think that you gotta prep for both sides. And I think they're thinking less about, hey, if Austin Jackson struggles, we need Lamb there, and more about if one of these guys get hurt. But you're right. Lamb has looked really good in camp. I would say that he has been one of the pleasant surprises to the fact that, why not? Why not? Like, it's probably too late to make it a competition at right tackle, but why not have a guy there where if it's rough for a couple of weeks for Austin Jackson, you feel good about Kendall at right tackle versus saying, hey, let's figure out if he can play it, this week, And so I do like the idea of him being proactive at that spot and getting reps there if they weren't giving them to him.
Who do you have next after that? Is it Keon Smith or Ogebuchi? I'm sorry.
I don't know if Cedric makes the team. I think it depends on if you want to develop a young dude. That would be Keon, or to me, and it's tough because everybody needs him. This could be another waiver wire spot where you try to go find a guy, out there, but you're low on the waiver wire, so that's tough. But sometimes guys are not fits in other schemes that maybe fit in your scheme, right?
So I think if there was a guy out there, they would have already brought him in because.
Well, I'm talking about a guy being cut off another team. There are often guys where, hey, we're a little heavy at tackle. We need another guard, or this guy's not a scheme fit for us. Or, and this is maybe my favorite type of waiver claim, this guy's just not ready. We drafted a guy in the 7th round. He's nowhere near ready to make the field. And Miami's saying, hey, we feel good about Lamb as our third. We can use our 4th tackle spot as a developmental guy on the 53, where we probably don't want him to play this year, but maybe a year or 2 from now, he could be our swing tackle. Sometimes teams do that as well. And so, but it's tough to claim offensive linemen on the waiver wire because everybody needs them. And so if anybody's worth developing, they probably get picked in the first 5 spots. So yeah, maybe I think Keon maybe would be the guy there, especially because they have a veteran in Lamb. They also could say, hey, we'll go heavy on guard and just keep 3 tackles, and we could always kick out Robert Hunt to right tackle if we had an issue. We could always technically kick out Liam.
The Cotton kid looks good, bro. I mean, if Wynn can win the left guard spot,
Wynn's the other thing. Like we can take
put Hunt at right.
And so I'm curious. I haven't asked Butch Berry, the offensive line coach, but some offensive line coaches had the philosophy of we're not gonna move 2 guys to change for injuries because we don't want to mess up 2 different spots. And other coaches say, hey, we just want the best 5. And so if Austin got hurt and we feel best about Wynn at right tackle and then Lester Cotton at left guard or Liam at left guard in that situation, then we'll move Wynn in game to right tackle and then insert one of those other guys. Where some offensive line coaches would be like, no, we just want to put the backup directly in the spot that's hurt and keep everything the same. And so it's mostly a philosophy question of which they prefer.
Well, Wynn and Cotton were already closing in on Eichenberg's job. Eichenberg too injured to play, too injured to practice today.
So Eichenberg practiced today. Eichenberg practiced and Lester Cotton didn't practice.
I thought it was Eichenberg that didn't that he was out of team drills.
No, so Eichenberg I don't know. Maybe he didn't practice. No, Eichenberg was with the second team. He was practicing.
Okay.
So the crew that you saw with the starters in the preseason opener, I'm trying to be careful with my wording here. The Dolphins get upset with this sort of thing. The crew you saw in Houston with Tua is the same crew that was out there today, and then Liam was out there as well with the next group. So he was getting reps, but Lester Cotton was not practicing. So obviously maybe that plays a factor in it. He was getting reps and rehab outside. And I also saw Robert Jones, who had crutches outside. He's got a little bit more of a significant knee injury. So he could be a guy
who's Cotton nearly as much at left guard.
Correct. Right? Yeah.
They've used them.
We didn't see Cotton at all, I think, in Houston in the preseason, right? The game. So it made me wonder is he hurt, or are they trying to hide him and try to sneak him onto the practice squad?
No,
I can't. Yeah, and so now that Robert Jones is hurt, I think that things probably changed because if you're thinking, hey, we might have to choose between Robert Jones and Lester Cotton for a roster spot because we have too many guards. They're not going to cut Liam, and so if you think we got Liam, we got Robert Hunt, and we got Isaiah Wynn. And then are we going to keep 5 guards? We're going to keep both Robert Jones and Lester Cotton. That becomes a lot. And so maybe you're thinking, we might have to squeeze Lester to the practice squad. But now that Rob Jones is hurt, if he's not going to be ready, the first couple weeks of the season, you might consider putting him on IR. You can get them back off IR, I think, after 4 games. And then maybe Lester Cotton does end up being secure in that situation.
Yeah, I think Lester was jumping Robert Jones.
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah.
He was mauling fools.
Yeah.
And I know that his pass pro is where he struggles a little bit, and that's where he has to improve. But his run blocking is actually pretty solid, dude.
Yep.
Pretty solid. I thought he was moving up. Let me get to the silly story. Jonathan Taylor. Come on, man. How many times are we going to play this game? I was just explaining to somebody, can you just watch what Chris Greer does? Okay, so he signed a tackle to big money? Okay. He gave his corners big money, Byron Jones, now Jalen Ramsey. Okay, he traded for a receiver that he had to give big money, right? Pass rushers. He gave Ogba big money. He gave Chubb big money. And eventually he's going to give Jalen Phillips big money. Because in today's modern football, the guys that get money are the quarterbacks, the offensive tackle, the shutdown corner, the pass rusher, because it could be an outside linebacker, or it could be a defensive end, or it could be a defensive tackle. So the pass rusher, and then you go with the wide receiver, the number one wide receiver. Those are the 5 people you pay. Notice his whole thing. He doesn't fucking pay running backs, dude. So he's not going to pay running. I just told you, he's going to pay 4 or 5 running backs less than he pays, than they pay one of their running backs with the New York Jets in Dalvin Cook. That's kind of the MO. That's kind of the way things are. And I don't know why we keep going through this when the general manager shows you what habitually what he's going to do and the way he looks at shit, because that's the way you're supposed to look at this damn league. This is what helps you win. Running backs are just a cog now. They're not the main factor why you win. So why does this Jonathan Taylor story get legs? And exploratory means, hey, do you want to give them to me? Oh, you don't? Oh, okay. Well, then we're not interested.
Right. It's funny. I was actually, while we were talking, I forgot that I was going to need to send out a tweet about Raheem Mostert, because we asked Raheem Mostert about that. And I thought that he had a very good answer, given that like every week it seems like there's a question about, are they trying to bring in another guy to take my job? Because he is the running back one on this team. If it hasn't been clear, like they're going to have a multi-back system, but Raheem is the starting back, right? And he said, I'm not worried about another man coming to take my job. I'm just worried about perfecting my craft. And he did note, he's like, I'm not going to ask Mike McDaniel or Chris Greer about any of this. He's like, sometimes it's noise, sometimes it's real. But he said they did bring in last year when the Dolphins brought in a running back, and he wouldn't name him, but my guess is Jeff Wilson. He said that McDaniel told him when it was happening and gave him a heads up. And so he assumes that it would be the same if it happened this year. Now, I will say Jonathan Taylor is a little different than Dalvin Cook, because Dalvin Cook is older. He's towards the end of his legs. He's probably more of a 1-year deal. Jonathan Taylor, you'd be trading for him with the idea that he's going to be a cornerstone of your team for years to come, right? So you would be giving up significant assets with the idea that he is a missing piece that can get us over the top. And I'm not
Dolphins.
What do you say?
If it was a right tackle, if it was a guard, okay, that's a missing piece. The running backs, that missing piece. The better you make that line, the better all those running backs you currently have will be.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I really like Raheem Mostert. Like, I know he's not the quote unquote the sexy name, because he's been banged up a little bit in his career. He hasn't had the year that Jonathan Taylor or Dalvin Cook or the consistency they've had. But I love his fit in the scheme. He knows Mike McDaniel well. He had a very good yards per carry. Like, this dude has one of the best yards per carry averages in NFL history. And last year he wasn't himself yet. He was still coming off that scary knee injury. So he's been healthy. He's looked fast. I feel really good. Like I don't usually give fantasy football advice, but I would tell you to take Raheem Mostert on your team, because he's going in late rounds. And I think people forget that he had over 1,000 yards last year.
Caveat, I think what he means is I'd take Raheem Mostert as my 3rd running back.
Yes, not like first round. Yeah, like I'm taking him. He's been going in like the 11th or 12th round. I'm going to take Raheem Mostert. That's probably my 4th or 5th running back, honestly. In the 3rd or 11th round.
Maybe because receivers have become so much bigger part.
Yeah, in the 11th round, he's probably my 4th running back, and so I'm not even considering starting him. But if he gets hot, then he pops into my flex spot. And so I really like that, because he's a lead back here. He can catch passes. He fits the speed element that they love. And Devon Achane, as good as he is, he's still a rookie. And as we just saw this past week, he's still small. And so I'm glad that we've got good news on him. But he got hurt with a defensive lineman falling on him. And the knock on him coming out of the draft is he going to be able to survive if defensive linemen fall on him? Right. And so I think that probably tells you he's going to be a package player for them, where he's going to get more a package of snaps rather than stealing a lot of reps from Raheem. So I think it'll still be very much Raheem and Jeff Wilson, with Raheem more active as the pass catcher.
So tell the Dolphin Nation, along with myself, tell them all that this is a silly ass story, and there's no shot that Jonathan Taylor ends up on the Dolphins.
So I don't know. I don't know that for sure. I will say that I don't think the Dolphins are giving up a first. I I feel pretty confident the Dolphins are not going to give up a first-round pick for Jonathan Taylor.
They're not going to give up a second-round pick either.
Now, what I'm saying is, if it gets nasty enough, like I don't know how committed the Colts are to trading him. My thought is Jonathan Taylor still makes a lot of sense for the Colts, probably more than any other team with a rookie quarterback there in Anthony Richardson. They drafted him. They believe in him. To me, this is one of the situations you go out, test the market. We figure we can't get a first-round pick and get you paid, and so come to work. Come back to work and keep it pushing. And next year, maybe we'll see if something's different. But
nobody trades for Saquon. Nobody trades for
right,
Derek.
Exactly. And so my belief at this point is that it's still going to be too expensive asset-wise and contract-wise to get a deal that makes everybody happy. And so if you told me, hey, what is your guess? I'd guess that to Jonathan Taylor's a Colt week 1. But that being said, if for some reason the Colts feel like they're forced to trade him and they end up going upon this route, then they probably get a lot less than they think they're going to get. And if it ends up being a 3rd or 4th round pick, if it ends up being a midday pick, then yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins got in for that.
Or then again, you just say, no, we're playing you. Oh, you don't want to play? You don't want to hold out? That's fine. Go ahead.
I'm saying, yes, the Colts can do that. My question.
You ain't going anywhere. And
right.
At the end of your contract, we'll just tag you and tag you again and then let you go after 7-8 years of use. And then we can say, hey, too bad, so sad. So to me, this is all a bunch of bullshit. Every running back has failed. Every running back has failed. Nobody gets out. Nobody gets a deal. Nobody gets a trade. Why? Because the league ain't paying anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's
just the way it is. The league's not paying anymore. The message has been sent, and agents and running backs simply don't get it. Aaron Jones has been a stud for Green Bay, and they told him, dude, take a pay cut or you're getting out of here. Joe Mixon has run his ass off for Cincinnati behind a terrible line, by the way, that he has helped his quarterback and his team because the line has been mediocre, and yet he still gets yards. He still scores touchdowns, and they told him, take a massive pay cut or you're getting the hell out of here. Right. So, to me, Jonathan Taylor's no different than, Derek Henry.
I will say Jonathan Taylor's younger.
Conversation already a couple times. Derek effing Henry is available.
Yep.
The biggest difference maker. One of the different in that position of all time. He's top 5 of all time. He's right there with Jim Brown and Barry Sanders and Walter Payton. I put him right there with those freaks.
Yep.
Nobody makes a trade for the ultimate difference maker.
Yep. Absolutely.
Come on. It's crazy. All right, Tanner Conner, final thing. Is this a last-ditch hope for him in this last week?
So it's interesting. I was having a conversation with another reporter, Omar, actually, about Tanner Conner. And he was asking, why did they take Tanner Conner off PUP? Why do you just continue to hide him on PUP during the season? You don't have to make a decision on him. But it was intriguing to me that one of the first things we saw Tanner Conner do is take, I will just say it this way, catch passes with Tua and the rest of the Tua crew early on in practice. And so it made me wonder if they've watched the pass catching tight ends, which are being Hill and Higgins, and said, we don't feel great about either of these guys. And Tanner Conner is their best, in their mind, pass catching tight end because Smythe will be on the roster.
For the record, I kind of like Julian Hill over everybody else.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But and maybe he makes it, but maybe the Dolphins are thinking, okay, Julian Hill is better than the guy we actually drafted, but neither of these guys deserve a roster spot, so we'll try to get him on our practice squad. But maybe Tanner Conner ends up getting that spot, and you use him week 1, and maybe it's Smythe, Tanner Conner, and then their pick of the veterans, Croft, Saubert. I don't know if either of those guys have done enough in my book to separate them from one another, but I'm sure they have their favorite. But I don't think both of those guys make the roster. Maybe it's just one of those guys with Tanner Conner, with Smythe, and they just roll with that. That's my educated thought there.
2 of the 3 blocking tight ends making it. Yeah, you're right. Either Croft or Saubert get cut.
Right.
Smythe Smythe made
Yeah,
the team.
yeah, and then you have Tanner Connor as your pure pass catcher. You also have Eric. You also have Alec Ingold, who can fill that role in a pinch if you need him to.
Right.
So you feel like you're covered, and Tanner Connor could be your backup fullback as well if you need him to.
And Sauber played a little H-back, didn't he?
Yes, exactly. And so maybe that helps him get a spot over Croft. I don't know how they separate, but maybe it's who's the better special teams player, who plays backup fullback better, whatever that. And then money plays a factor too. I can't remember what their contract is, but
that's what I was thinking of Brooks too, that since he's kind of slightly a little bigger than those guys, he can maybe fill in a little bit of fullback if something happens to him.
Because remember, Alec Ingold missed some games last year. He's a physical player. So, you might miss a game or two because he's going to try to run through your face and he might miss some time. So you need somebody to be a fullback in that offense. They need a fullback in this offense for it to run.
Being a human sledgehammer can be painful.
Yes, that is true.
I can imagine. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. And Cam, what do you got going on in the NFL Network so folks can check you out?
Yeah, I'll be on TV tomorrow night. Total Access, our NFL Network show from 7 to 8 p.m. So I'll talk a little ball then. And then I'm actually flying to Atlanta Thursday morning. I'll be doing their preseason game, the Falcons-Steelers game on NFL Network, 7:30. So you'll see me pregame there. And then I'll be back home, and I'll be here until week 1. And so, we'll talk some more Dolphins as we get into cuts and talk about the final roster sometime next week or two.
All right. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Cam, safe travels, my brother. We'll catch up later on in the week. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, man.
This has been the KSDT CPA Pro Football Report with NFL insider Cameron Wolfe. KSDT is recognized by Forbes as one of the top tax accounting firms for 2022. KSDT CPA is a full-service firm that also excels in crypto. Visit them at ksdtcpa.com or call 305-670-3370.